good early morning from Buenos Aires. It's about 4:10 a.m. and we're about to go out and get a little breakfast downstairs and take our carry-ons and go meet a bus to hit a plane to get a ship in Ushuaia. So stay tuned. We'll show you what the journey looks like.
I always find it a little bit rough to eat at 4 in the morning, but they had a little bit of yogurt, a couple of cappuccinos, and we were ready to head to the local airport, the Jorge Newbery Airport, which is actually just a couple of miles away from the Alvear Palace Hotel. So this would be our first bus of the day, hopping onto the coach, which would take us directly to the security portion of the airport. So there was no check-in to deal with. We had our boarding passes already in hand that we had collected from Seabourn the morning before. Our bags were already loaded onto the plane. We had left those in the hallway in the hotel the night before, which gave some of us a little bit of pause. And within about 10 minutes of arriving, barely had time to use the restroom, and they were putting us on the hot bus out to the JetSmart plane, which we would take down to Ushuaia. So this morning charter on JetSmart was strictly for Seabourn, and there were actually 2 flights during the day. We somehow were the lucky ones who drew the early flight, which left at 7:01 a.m. and was to get to Ushuaia a little bit before 11. And then there was a later flight about an hour and a half behind us where they'd get in about noon or so. While the flight certainly wasn't luxury by any means, I will say that it was nice that the number of people who were in a suite had a row to themselves. So if you had 2 people, like Donna, Doobie, and I, then you'd have a row of 3 for just the 2 of you. Those who were adding an extra person to the cabin were kind of stuffed in 3 to a row. But overall, we had half the passengers on this early flight and half would come in, like I said, about 90 minutes later in order to kind of spread out the embarkation process onto the ship. As the plane began to drop into Ushuaia, we were treated to amazing views on both sides of the plane. So on the right side, we had a great view of Tierra del Fuego, some of the great mountains. And on the left side of the plane was the Beagle Channel, and we followed the Beagle Channel all the way into the airport. A couple of quickie facts on the Beagle Channel. The Beagle Channel is named after, yes, that same ship which housed a naturalist named Charles Darwin on the explorations of the natural world around the globe. And across the Beagle Channel, that landmass you see is not Argentina anymore, but Chile. So the Beagle Channel actually divides the Argentinian territory of Tierra del Fuego from the Chilean archipelago.
Estimados pasajeros, bienvenidos a Ushuaia. Hemos aterrizado a las 10:20 AM hora local. Por favor, no te muevas de tu asiento hasta que el avión se tenga por completo la señal de abrochar.
So the process once we landed was kind of funny. We had to actually then collect our bags that had been carried from the hotel, put on the plane, and delivered to Ushuaia, and then give them back to the Seabourn representatives to take to the ship for us. At the same time, we got on another coach and did a little bit of exploration of Ushuaia once all that the bags were settled. There was about 5 buses that took us from place to place, and just based on when your luggage came out and when you could hand it off was the determining factor on which bus you actually got to board. So it quickly became apparent that maybe we weren't going straight to the ship.
So funny thing, they don't want us all showing up at the ship at the same time. So we are here basically just wandering the old airfield in Ushuaia.
And that's cool and all, but we were tantalizingly close to the ship. But it was a great opportunity to take some selfies and really enjoy what a beautiful port this is that was laid out in front of us, with the mountains in the background, beautiful water, and our awaiting ship. Because after all, we knew that champagne and lunch were just waiting for us. But we had to make one more stop because we're tourists after all. So finally, next stop, Seabourn Venture. Well, not quite. So the actual check-in process took place while we were still sitting in the bus on the dock, since there's no real building at the terminal for the cruise ship. So once we had checked in formally, we then had to go to the Discovery Center in order to get our IDs, pictures taken if you hadn't been a passenger before and all, which gave us a little bit of time to have a bite of lunch, wander around, and meet with some of the expedition team. Now, we would find over the days that the expedition team always provided the best information for spotting wildlife. Required activities for the afternoon were all passengers had to watch a safety video within our suites, and actually once you watched it, it would unlock your TV. Then we needed to attend a safety briefing with the captain at 4:45 in the Discovery Center. So there's quite a bit to do before we could come back and show you a tour of our home for the week.
Okay, everybody, welcome to Suite 733 on the Seabourn Venture. So this is a dead middle of the ship, kind of standard Veranda Suite. Start with the bathroom. You've just probably seen before. Things we really like is double sink, plenty of shelf space. Storage underneath is a little wonky instead of drawers, but nice big tub and shower, separate shower. And next to our walk-in closet, this is always something that's great about Seabourn. In this case, we've got this really fluffy blanket here. We're in the Antarctica, so we might actually need it. A long hanging area and two short hanging areas. 2, 3, 4, 5 drawers, and a safe that's big enough for just about any laptop. Nice comfy bed with drawers and 4 plugs. So we have USB and we have standard 110 and 220. More plug space and storage units here. Kind of the same setup on the Doobie side of the bed. And then our lounge area with a nice big table. And as always, your bar area with glassware, utensils you need, water in the refillable bottles, and we have our mini fridge. It's stocked with whatever you'd like. And the other thing we like about this class of ship is the balconies are extraordinarily deep. So big enough to pull out a full lounger, very large table, not cramped for space out here. So, in a nutshell, from Ushuaia, Argentina, that's room 733, the Seabourn Venture.
Gear provided by Seabourn for the expedition was this parka. They call it a parka, but really it's 2 components. It's a waterproof shell and an inner liner, which is actually a very, very warm inner liner. Along with, we received waterproof bags to store any of our gear when we went ashore, keep it safe from the water on the Zodiacs, and a Helly Hansen beanie. But I'll tell you, the best aspect of the suite was a warming closet so you could dry everything out in between expeditions. A busy day so far, but it's now 6:30, which is cocktail time in the lounges on the Seabourn Venture. So it's time for a nice dry martini and that world-famous Seabourn treat, caviar. Anytime, any place you would like it.
Angie and Mom didn't want to eat caviar,
I know.
but they did.
Yeah, but they didn't like it.
So a little bit before 7 p.m., we were underway, and as demonstrated here with the SS Doobie, we'd be making our way up the Beagle Channel. And by about the end of dinner time, we'd be approaching the end of the channel. And at some point during the middle of the night, we'd be passing Cape Horn and running into the seas of the Drake Passage. forecast was for 3 to 4 meter seas and winds that were probably going to whip up to about 35 to 40 knots. So could get a little shaky. We didn't have time to worry about that. It was time for dinner. Started off tonight with a caviar and crab salad. Donna had a nice fillet. And I had the salmon in sofrito, which was just done perfectly. Overall, a great meal. Nice thing about having a day or two of sea days ahead of you is you can have an after-dinner cocktail or two. The bad thing is you can have a cocktail or 3 or 4. Anyway, we joined Dan in the club on Deck 9 for his Welcome Aboard tribute to acoustic icons. And Dan was a tremendous entertainer for the trip. And on this night, he showcased everyone from Ed Sheeran to Bob Dylan to Bruce Springsteen and even little Bono and U2 as he entertained us on the acoustic guitar and the piano. Unfortunately, we can't really share any of that with you, but hey, it's getting late and it's time to see what the Drake has in store for us tonight anyhow. So we'll see you tomorrow.